I identify pro-black.
History is about teaching us as a people that we're at war.
I want to speak about the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Our ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Hotep, Uncle Jah Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another live broadcast of the Jah and the Kev show. This is a Thursday night special once again, and we're going to continue to do these broadcasts on Thursday until further notice. But tonight, Brother Kevin, we have a lot of information to discuss concerning those that are our elders, as far as the disrespect. And we're going to be honest tonight because we all have a lot of work to do in that area. And so we want to just raise the level a little bit so that we can see that any community that doesn't take care of those who are seniors or those who are older, you have a community that is definitely in trouble. And that's what you see now. And that's a result of a lot of us that we don't really view the elders the way we even should, even the way we think about them. We pretty much have thrown them away in a sense. Not everyone, but our society, our culture. And we're going to get into some of the reasons as to why and what can we do to make it better. And then we're going to encourage those who are doing what we should do. So having said that, Kev, I want to see if you have any opening statements about this whole idea of the respecting the elders.
Yeah, that's interesting, that the opening dialogue that you gave. The perception that many people have is that the younger generation doesn't respect their elders. And I think that's been prevalent throughout the ages. Every generation doesn't think the younger generation gives them the proper respect. As far as not respecting them or disrespecting them, that's what I want to clarify.
Okay.
Because being disrespectful is different than not giving them the respect that they think they deserve.
Okay.
Or that others may think they deserve. So I think that's going to be a good conversation, man. I'm just thinking about it. I'm pondering it. So hopefully we could clarify some of the things. Like I'm gonna have questions about that.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because I think when I'm talking in terms of our elders, I look at a society. I'm looking at us. I'm looking at, as a people, how we talk about the things that we should do to the youth and help our youth. But then we also have the elders. I don't really have many discussions with people about the elderly, because a lot of times when the elderly gets old, we kind of cast them aside. And that's what we want to say today is we need to look further into that to make sure that we don't do that. Because let's be honest, a lot of us, we have some of the examples of, even when it comes to the rehabilitation centers, how we drive all year past these rehabilitation centers and we don't even stop in to visit them, because a lot of them don't have family members. And that's just one aspect. And so I think from that perspective, we have a responsibility and a duty to do things, not just in that area, but just in other areas, like calling them. And it all starts at home. Basically, a lot of us have family. We have mothers, fathers, grandmothers, uncles who are older, and we don't even pick up the phone to call them. So I'm just talking about the communication, because I go back to, in an Afrocentric worldview, the elders are very important. They've always been important. But in our context, based upon our Eurocentric brainwashing, a lot of us have taken that ideology of helping them and we've ignored them. And I think we definitely have to talk about that, because if we're honest with ourselves, we all can do a little better to show them that you're valuable to us. You're important to us.
Right. You said a mouthful right there. That is a lot of clarity was presented with that. Now I see the angles that you're coming from on that. Now, the first thing when you were saying is like the nursing home or the facilities like that. In my line of work, installation technician, repair technician, sometime I have to go to, I always tell people some of the saddest work that I do is when I have to go to a care facility, a nursing home. Seeing the people in there, like sometime I may have to install, say, like a line inside a private room.
Right.
And talking to that person, it's a sad thing to me, because they're so they're latching on. They want to visit. They want someone to talk to.
Yes.
And they're talking to me And even when I'm done working, they still want to keep talking. Like they don't want to let you go.
Wow.
Or they'll tell you, like, yeah, and they'll tell you things like, yeah, my kids, I have these many kids, these many grandkids, these many great grandkids. You say, wow, and you say, I don't get to see any of them.
Wow.
And that's the sad. And I always say it's sad, even when I just go and I do work for the facility.
Right.
Those people, when they hear another voice or they see you, they be wanting to know, like, are you coming to see me? Like, is this somebody coming to see me? Debilitating to me when I had to go there. It's sad for me to go there because I'm man, people got to go visit their family members. If you're going to put them in that facility, that's one thing. But to me, we need to discuss why are we putting them in that facility in the first place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I think that we'll do a lot of discussion on that.
Oh yeah, because I think there's 3 types of people, and I wrote them down. There are 3 types of people or perspectives or mindsets when you senior citizens and those who have gotten older and basically are fending not so much for themselves, but they're doing the best they can in this world in their final days. There's those who don't want to talk about it. And a lot of people don't like to discuss this, and even if our audience, as they listen to us, challenge ourselves. When do we have these discussions about the elderly? We don't like to talk about them being, elderly. And then there are those who like to talk about it, but we don't do anything about it. We don't make any efforts to help them because it's all about being an applicable person to try to do something small or great to show them, hey, that you care. And that's the part that I want to continue to come at. And then the third part is there are those who continue to help our seniors because there are many people that help them. And a lot of times we feel like if a person works in a rehabilitation center, then they're being cared for. So maybe I don't need to go and visit them because all of our seniors are not in nursing homes, because a lot of our parents are older. And it's like the simple thing as calling and checking on them. I know that you have a great relationship with your mother. We go to football games and your mother's there,
Right,
and you respect her to the hilt, and you should, the highest. And I like that about you because I kind of look at you sometimes and I'm jealous from the standpoint of I wish I had my mother here,
yeah,
you see.
I understand.
And so a lot of times people, we look at people who we have as elders and we take them for granted. And I'm telling those who really don't look at that in a serious light is you have to cherish every moment that you have. And so that's one of the aspects that I say when we talk about respect and disrespect. How you're going to be a person that has a mother or someone that's elderly and won't pick up the phone just to call to say, hey, how you doing? Or go check on them. Or when Mother's Day come, you want to buy them something, but throughout the year, you don't even associate with them. You don't want to be bothered with them.
Right.
So I'm saying these are the things. And if you ask the elders, and I'll give it back to you, but if you ask our seniors, if they were honest and they were in their right mind and they were honest about their feelings, I think they would come from the perspective of we have to do a better job as a society to help them in every facet we can.
You think they feel forgotten?
I believe they do.
Neglected?
Hey, I go, the lady that lives next door to me, they put her in a rehabilitation center. And it's interesting because I went to visit her this past week. And she's not all there mentally, but I said, hey, Miss So-and-so, I came to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. How are they treating you here? And then she says, can you take me to go pay a bill? I said, well, I can't do it now. So I was playing the game with her. And then I said, well, I came to see you last week and you weren't here. And she says, I don't know how that's going to help me. And everybody that was there was snickering and laughing as if that was funny. And it was. But the point of it is that's not going to stop me from going to see her. My students in our curriculum, we have to go to rehabilitation centers throughout this city so they can see that as a young lady, you have to address the issues. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that if you start them young, then when they get older, they'll feel like I'm responsible to these people as opposed to, well, just driving by every day, going to do everything we want to do and not really taking time out for them. And that's what it's all about, man. Just showing some respect.
Yeah, that's interesting. I appreciate that, man. That you do that with the girls at the school. I think that's something that's lacking. I think the culture of simulation and that we've gone through in the Black community is enabling us to just drive by those facilities. Like you said, the Afrocentric, the African spirituality and all of that, that's very essential. taking care of your elders,
Yes, sir.
respecting your elders. And Christianity, it's
Yes,
in the
sir.
Bible.
Yeah.
Take care of your elders, respect your parents,
Mhm.
respect.
Honor your mother and father.
And
Yeah.
Islam, it's in the Bible.
Mhm.
I mean, in the Quran, you treat the elders, respect the elders. Respecting your elders is like respecting God,
Mhm.
the creator.
Yeah.
That's how important it is. But somewhere we are not governed by any of that when it comes to our elders,
Uh-oh.
because our culture,
Yes,
that
sir.
just tells me that we are not attached
Mm.
to that culture. We don't have a culture that's telling us that this is what we need to be doing. We shouldn't have to just teach it in a school or a
Right,
class
right,
or anything
right.
like that. And what we have is per household
Right.
growing up.
Mhm.
It's okay. Does this household, do you do that in your household? How I am with my mom, but it's not a cultural thing.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why we need to talk about it, because it should be something that's innate, as you're saying. Uh, when we look at the society in which we live in, and when we honestly view our elders as to what is going on, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves as a group, as you're talking, not one, just as a group of people, because we're not. In our culture, we have allowed it to take our spirituality, our religion, and dictate to us what we do. We should be dictating to the culture, see, because we
Right.
should take what we believe into the culture and change it. But a lot of us have gotten complacent, and a lot of us are set in our ways, because as we grew up, we never went to visit people that were elderly. We didn't do the best we could to take care of those in our family, because we were always at war, bickering, and just kind of isolating ourselves from them. And now that we are adults, instead of teaching our children and teaching the community that this is something that is incumbent upon me, I must go out here. I must go out, and not just to a nursing home, but I must do what I can. I must think of ways that I can do some things to help show these elderly people that, hey, your life is very valuable. And that's why the lady probably reached out to you, who you spoke with at the rehabilitation center. They're lonely, brother. They're lonely.
Right.
And we do everything we want to do. And I have one of the things on my notes, as far as we use this, I'm so busy. You mean to tell me we're too busy to take so many minutes out of a day? I didn't say we have to go every day. I didn't say we have to live there. But damn it, you can't go. And I'm getting kind of up in the air, because I think it's a disgrace. And our ancestors would be rolling over in their graves, especially those that we talk about: Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, all of the sisters, Fannie Lou Hamer, and all of them, as to how we treating our elderly. Because we talk a lot on a cell phone and we do what we do. And I'm not knocking that, because we all have lives to live. But all I'm saying is, when are we going to set aside some specific time where I say to you, when you say, hey, brother, let's go shoot some basketball. And I say, hey, Kev, let's do it tomorrow, next week. I'll set this time out. I want to go to this rehabilitation center, or I'm going to go visit my next door neighbor. I'm going to go to my aunt's house that's really struggling. I want to do something to show that we care. And this is what we don't get enough of.
Right. I have someone that shared the same sentiments with you. Another friend of mine, Richard.
Mhm.
He lost his mom a
Mm.
while back, and he asked me what I'm doing, I said, well, I'm taking my mom to lunch, or I'm doing this, I'm going to take her to this. And he said, man, you're so lucky. Now the thing is, with those people that have lost parents,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that has to stop there. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Teach,
okay,
Kev,
you don't have yours, but how about
Teach.
somebody on your street may be elderly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, you mind if I come cut your grass?
Mhm.
You mind? Do you need anything?
Mhm.
I'm going to Walmart. I'm going to HEB. I'm going to the grocery store. Do you need anything?
Mm.
Do you
Boy, you teach, Kev.
need anything?
Yes, sir.
I'm just checking on you.
Yeah.
You're okay. Talk to them, just if you give a little bit of your time just to talk to them,
Mhm.
because it may be nobody showing up there to talk to them.
Right,
And
right.
if they do, they probably call them on the phone, and that's like, okay, I'm meeting my quota
Mhm.
type thing. And then they're, going. But see, sometimes that's not enough. Talking on the phone, it may be great,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
sometimes you want interaction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I think that even though people that they may not have their parents there are parents out there
Teach,
still.
Kev. Yes, sir.
There's elderly people all around us, and we can't treat them like they're invisible.
Yeah, and I even look at sometimes the way we talk to them. I noticed when I met you, and you said, hey, Jahi, we went to look at facilities, and you said my mom was with me, and I watched the dynamics, and I can tell that you are a man who loves his mother.
Right.
And I think even the way you talk to her, that's very respectful, And I know every day ain't the same, but I'm going back to some of us, how we even talk to them. And we're going to talk about, in fact, let's just do it now, because some of us younger people, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves the way we when they ask us a question, it's as if we want to hurry up and get the answer out. Yeah, nah, we don't do the yes, ma'am. We don't do the no, sir. We don't show the respect in our voice. We don't say, oh, let me help you with that. We have this attitude that, well, hey, they're up in age now. Let them, fend for themselves. And we have gotten to a point where we're so nihilistic when we in our thought process, meaning that we have no value in life, man. And we live like animals, man. Most of us do when it comes to the elderly. And people say, well, that's hyperbolic. It may be hyperbolic, but the truth in that is, when is the last time that we challenged ourselves to say, I'm going to take this time out and do the very things that you and I are talking about, especially when we talk to them. Sometimes people call us on the phone and make a mistake, and they'll say, I called the wrong number. You can tell in their voice they're older. And instead of saying, oh, ma'am, I'm sorry, you got the wrong number, don't call me anymore. Some silly stuff like that, as if that's something that the people in the house are edging them on. Yeah, you told that B. This is retarded, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna hit on a couple of things with that. At my job, like I say, I go a lot of places. When I used to work in town a lot, I'm gonna tell you, I used to stop. I used to while I'm on the clock. I used to cut people's yard when I see an elderly person, especially if it's one of my customers. And I remember doing this, and we get in trouble for that. We'll get because we're doing something off. I mean, we have a time constraint on how much time we spend on each job or ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this lady, and there was an older lady, older white man, and they was we talking, and I'm doing stuff at their house, and I'm trying to get them up, and then I'm look out the window, and I'm like, this guy out here cutting the grass, San Antonio. He got to be like 80, upper 80s, 90s.
Come on,
so
Kevin,
I'm like,
man.
I asked her about her husband. She said, oh, he's out there. I said, no.
Come on,
I said, no. So I went out there. I said, I got it, sir. So I take the lawnmower from him, and I'm just cutting the grass. Like, he's like, no, of course they're gonna say, no, you ain't got it. I'm like, I know I ain't, but I do this. But I'm thinking, your neighbors, and I know someone that lives down the street that had a younger kid, and I'm thinking what you should do. Many of us have problems getting our own kids to cut the yard, our own yard.
Yes,
so I know it's going to be a problem getting them to cut somebody else's yard. But this is what you should be embedding in them.
Yes, sir.
To be, because we always talk about that proverbial village.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And the village takes care of those that can't take care of themselves. Is the village is not just somebody looking at person. You say no, nosy Miss So and So. She's being nosy because she cares. She want to make sure you're not doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Yeah. Or I'm gonna tell your mama. But if you want that, y'all want that village, then start off with teaching your kids to reach out to the elderly and see what they need. Hey, ma'am, do you need anything? Yeah. I see your grass. We're going to cut your grass. Oh, you're paying these people to come cut your grass. How about we, and that, I mean, an act of kindness or whatever, just and have that camaraderie. We looking out for our own.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's how it should be.
It should be that way, Brother Kevin. And a lot of us, and people say, well, you sometimes you guys on the Jah and Kev show, I've heard this before. I've ignored it because it's not true, but people don't like to face the truth and reality. And what it boils down to is it's hypocritical for me to go to a building as a man who practices spirituality and talk about the Orishas and talk about Amun Ra. And I'm not talking about anybody else's faith. I'm talking about me when it comes to what I believe, and talking about Nefertiti and all the ancients of old, the pyramids and the solar system and all this stuff, and won't even go next door and cut my neighbor's yard because I know the woman is having problems seeing and she's elderly and she has to take money and pay some kind of crew to come out, which I know she doesn't have. And yet every week or every other week I see them cutting her grass. This is not happening because I cut her grass. This is an illustration, but to see them cutting her grass every week or every month, knowing that this woman needs me, and yet I'm going to run to a building every month or whenever I go and get on my knees and look to a sky and act like I'm holier than thou. That's hypocritical, and I think a lot of people don't want to face that. But if you look at all of us, for the most part, we can all do better, and that's all we're saying on the Jah and Kev show. We've got to do better, man. Dr. Amos said, whenever you take the love that one has for another from a group of people, that people is basically destroyed. And that's where we are today. And this is why a lot of people don't want to have this discussion. But we would love for you to call us.
Intentional.
Exactly.
That's what Dr. Amos Wilson was talking about. This is how you destroy your people.
We got to open these lines.
You take that away. If y'all want to 361 405-6111.
Yeah, we want to have some dots. And this is the kind of dialogue. And see, this is the thing. We're not trying to shame anyone. We're saying the reality is because, even for many years, I wasn't thinking about the elderly. See,
Right.
but now, and I'm not saying that all of a sudden I'm on this high horse. I'm just saying that in my life now, the elderly are important to me. They mean they're very valuable, and I demonstrate that in the things that I do. You see, no, you don't have to call me and say, "Well, hey, brother Jah, let's go do this." See, and they said that back in the day, the preacher, they say they used to have the preacher used to go to the nursing homes and rehabilitation centers and have a crew come and sing and all of that. They say they're not even doing that anymore, man.
Yeah. And it may be people, I mean, you can do it. And this is home because I have a parent that's in a facility like that. And he's Christian. He used to be a pastor, my dad. And I'm gonna put it, the church don't come see him.
Come on, man.
None of his people at the church.
Come on, Kev.
And in fact, that the only way that he's getting out is when we basically try to get him out. His birthday's coming up. I'm gonna send him to the church. I had some trepidations about that because he thinks some of the people that's in the church is dead. He'd tell me like, Pastor so-and-so died. I'm like, and I know he's not dead.
Right.
But I'm like, you would know he's not dead if he came to see you.
Right.
But I'm thinking like, this is how this can't be how any facet of our society treat fellow memberships or just treat people that's elderly. I mean, younger people could get up and go. And I know older people may not be able to hop in their car, but you should say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take you. I have people that say, man, I want to go see him, but my kids won't take me. I can't drive. And it's like, well, they too busy to take you to go see one of your other siblings and things like that. That's the crime too. I mean, the whole mentality of that is a crime. If my mom had a sibling that was in a hospital or just in a hospital, not let alone nursing home, and she wanted to go see him, if she had one that wasn't in the nursing home, she wanted to go see him. Me and my sister, we sent my mom to New York all the time. We were sending her constantly. I said, you want to go? No, like she like tired of going. You know what I'm saying? It's like we send her all the time. Your mom is older. Maybe it's, you need to go. Go see her. Go visit again. Go visit again. You never know when it's going to be your last time.
Right.
And these are the things we have to keep in mind when we're dealing with older people. They may want to go see somebody.
Right.
Take them to visit their friends. Take them to visit their relatives.
Yeah, this shouldn't be so. We should not have to see our loved ones leave this earth lonely, sad, depressed, dejected. My father, man, I'm going to share this with you in the audience. My father was not the greatest guy in my life, but when he got older, he went to a rehabilitation center, a nursing home. And when I would go visit him religiously, I would go see him and sit and talk with him. And man, he would light up like a Christmas tree every time I came. And one day he asked me a very important question, and I just couldn't answer. He looked me right in my glasses and he said, son, why doesn't anyone come to see me but you? And I fell back because I'm not going to cape for you. If you're no good, you're no good. If you don't have time, you don't have time. I just looked at him and said, well, maybe when he cut me off and said, don't even try to give an excuse. He died a very lonely man. Now he had me. I have sisters. I have relatives, and some of my family members would come every blue moon. And you know how often the moon gets blue.
Right.
But Kevin, that should not have been so. And to this day, sometimes I lie in the bed and I look up at the ceiling and I say to myself, he shouldn't have left this earth like that. Because we got people in our family. And again, as many people that call themselves Christians, Muslims, spiritual people, and all of that, these rehabilitation centers should be overflowing with us coming. They should kick us out because we're just coming because we're so many of us. But see, what we want to do is we want to isolate this thing and say, well, this between me and my so-called God. But yet, as you mentioned, all the books, all the religious books, all the spiritual books tell us about how we should treat them. But now, as you said, and I want to get into that, I'm going to ask you this question because I want you to talk about this. Where did we go wrong, Kev, as far as the community that we live in, African-American people that won't do the things that you and I are talking about? Can you tell me our culture, what happened to us in your estimation?
I said it earlier, cultural assimilation.
Okay.
None of the things, like you said, the spiritualism, the religions that we have, we've always been a spiritual people, but that is not part of our culture. That's part of the individuals or the groups and things like that, but that hasn't bled. It's not bleeding over into our culture.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is culture is something that you live it's your entertainment, it's everything that comes out of you.
Mhm.
So our kids are not growing up in a culture of African historic African culture.
Okay.
It's very important in Africa that they look out for their elders.
Okay.
It's very important in our religions. All
Mhm.
of our religions, I said, they always say, look out for your elders.
Right.
But that's not part of our culture.
Mm.
So the whole thing of not showing respect to our elders,
Uh-huh.
we have a culture, a Eurocentric culture, assimilation,
Okay.
individualism. I'm gonna say this: the highest demographics that's in nursing homes is the white woman, the elderly white woman.
Mhm.
She's like, and white people make up like 76 or 75%
Mhm.
of nursing home.
Mhm.
Black people make up 14%, almost population
Okay.
percentage.
Okay.
The Hispanics only make up 5%, which is way lower than their percentage, a third of their percentage of this country.
Mhm.
Why is that?
Hmm.
So what can we do? Why are our parents even ending up in nursing homes? You know what I'm saying? This is a question that I had when I was looking at that those statistics.
Mhm.
Why are we ending up, and why is it not happening in the Hispanic community like that?
Mhm.
Are they, and we used to joke about, oh, they got everybody
Yeah,
living in their
yeah,
house.
yeah.
They got every,
Mhm.
but you know what? The ones that should be living in their house,
Mm.
both top and bottom,
Mhm.
we got a habit of kicking our kids out,
Mhm.
and we got a habit of sending our parents out or letting them
Teach girl.
fend for themselves.
Yeah.
When they can't fend for themselves, they should be either moving in with us
Mhm.
or something like that.
Mhm.
But now what we do when we put them in their facilities,
That's
it's like you can wash your hands up and go
Wow.
see them every once in a while.
wow. Wow.
You know, we
That's
got to do things to prepare as an adult. I have
Yes.
to do things to prepare for when I get old,
Yes, sir.
to make it easier on my kids.
Yes, sir.
Even if they say, you know what, you gonna come live with us.
Mhm.
You know, we got to do that. No matter how that parent may have been, we got to take that and say, you know what, this
Wow.
got to be part of our culture.
Wow, this is a beautiful discussion, Kevin. I'm so glad that we're having this discussion, but I'm going to answer a part of the question you asked. I know it was rhetorical, but I'm going to answer a part of it when you said, why do we do what we do when it comes to our elderly and not do what we should do as far as visiting them and helping them? We're selfish, man. A lot of us are selfish. We get our little castles and we feel as though we've accomplished something. So we want to be in our castle. We don't want anyone to upset that castle. We don't want anyone to visit us. We don't want to go out the castle. We want to go out in the marketplace, come back in, and just rot and stay in the castle, and the hell with the whole world. And this selfishness is something that has been taught to us. And instead of us rejecting it, saying, I know for a fact. See, because guilt, Kevin, we have to look guilt. If a person isn't guilty or doesn't feel the guilt for what they're doing, they're not going to do anything. In other words, how can you sleep at night knowing that you're supposed to be a spiritual religious man, but you know you're not doing anything that you should do when it comes to the elderly? You should challenge yourself. I challenge myself, and I know we should challenge ourselves and say, hey, because I have to tell myself too, you have to do better. This is me telling me, and I do better. See, I don't need a preacher, and I'm not tripping, but I don't need a preacher to foam and squeak and squawk and swing from the chandeliers telling me what I got to do. I don't need no one telling me what I need to do. I know I need to do this, and we know we need to do this, but we're selfish. What we do is we get into these little organizations, many of us, and that organization becomes our world. We don't think outside the box. These organizations are great when it comes to community enhancement and all that, but a lot of times these organizations don't even stress the importance of going and getting away and visiting those people that we need to visit and being people for them.
I remember I used to be a young football coach. Um, and as for the East Side team, Southeast Apaches, I used to coach. And what they do, they have fundraisers.
Mhm.
And they go out, and you see them still today, these organizations, they go out, they have the kids, a little basketball team, football, cheerleader, dance. They out there with bottles of water selling, or they just asking for donations. And I was trying to tell the president, the people in the organization, why, like they, people see these little kids with their jerseys. I say, why only time they see us is when we need money to go on a trip to Florida or something like that. Why don't we show up in the community? And our first thing I was saying, just pick up trash, show them, hey, we helping to clean up our community. And I said, why don't we go to the nursing homes? Why don't we show up and let them, just let the kids go there? Like you say, interacting with your kids, just go there to interact, and you're teaching the kids and you're showing
That's life, man.
the community that you care.
Right, exactly.
Embed that in. It never happened for whatever reason, but I'm like, you got to, for the only time that people see us is when we're begging for money. It can't be like that,
Yeah.
and that just
And
was
Kev,
crazy.
a lot of us, we like to avoid the obvious. We like to avoid it. We can see something and yet we look away from it. Getting old is a part of life, and we all know this to be true. But we want to avoid it because we want to use excuses, man. We want to use excuses. I've heard I don't go to the rehabilitation centers because the way it smells. I don't like to go to it because when you walk in the door, people are sitting in wheelchairs and just foaming at the mouth, sitting around. People are talking out of their minds. And it's not every rehabilitation center is not like that, but some are where people have issues with dementia when they get older. But that's not the point. It's not to make you convenient when you go there.
Right.
It's to show your love and concern and compassion. Let me settle down. It's to show your love, your concern, and your compassion for your fellow woman and man that's older than you. Our ancestors didn't teach us this, and we all know better, but yet we won't do it. And this is why I'm telling you now, we would love for someone to call in. We've given the number, and this is not a confession time, but it's just a challenging time to say, hey, each of us have to take this bull by the horns and say, all I can do is what I can do. And if you are doing what you're supposed to do, we applaud that. But a lot of us are not. And we're not going to do it because, like you said, we have been indoctrinated with a Eurocentric ideology that teaches us you get yours and I get mine and the hell with the rest. And that's what we've done to our elderly. And that's a shame and a disgrace.
I'm gonna read a couple of comments. I appreciate everyone that showed up on our Facebook page: Coretta, Sakina, Walaikum Assalam, Marie, and Mandrea, and Barbara, Nikita. And Nikita had a couple of comments. I want to read them. She said their journey is to wisdom. She said, I do visit, and it's sad because, yes, a lot of that stopped. I was activity director and still do visit a lot of my people who are still alive. And she said they give me joy. Barbara said, I look out for the elderly, disabled, and residents, checking on them, sometimes taking meals to them. I also do welfare checks on them and report to the landlord when they're absent for a while. When I see the elderly in the community, I offer any assistance that I may observe they need and a helping hand. She said, guilty. As I listen to you, brothers, because I don't go to the nursing homes. Great conversation, greatly appreciated. I appreciate you checking commentary. And Nikita said, what you are doing is good. You have a good heart, my sister. And I also wanted to say you had touched on something earlier, and I kind of let it slip by. But what about the relationships? Sometimes those people, do you the relationship that people may have with the elderly? Like say if that person was a bitter person, or say even if it's now, I'm gonna bring up another statistics. I'm gonna say this too. 47% of the people that abuse the elderly are family members. Most of them are their adult children. So when we talk about with younger people, they respect. These adults are not showing respect to the elderly. So we like to point the finger. We point the finger up and down, and we're in the middle. And it's always these kids are the worst. But the 47% of elderly crimes against, and they consider that a crime when you abuse somebody, is against their own family members, and a lot of time their own adult kids, men and women.
Right.
It's like mostly the men. It's men and women that commit crimes against their own elderly family members.
See, you hit the nail on the head at the outset about how this culture is so upside down because of our value system. You see, every time there's something to be said, we sometimes look to the youth as if they're the ones who have the answers. We're the ones that are the adults. We are the ones that should be driving the car. They should be sitting in the back seat as youth because we should be leading them. But see, we've got it so mixed up that we look to them. And you're right. We're the ones that's guilty because we're the ones who should have taught our children. We've shucked and we've jived. We've shucked our responsibility. We are responsible. See, and this is what it's called straight talk. And a lot of people they like you to come to them sideways. This is right to the heart. We have shucked our responsibilities as a people, as a group of people, unlike any other people when it comes to the elderly. Now, of course, they may have means and other ways of trying to help their people, but we can't have any more excuses about what we're not doing. We need to do it. And to those who are watching this broadcast, I hope that this is the beginning of someone saying, I'm going to do a better job. Just that simple. You can't go back in the past and start condemning people for what they didn't do. So we're saying if we know we're in that shoe or we're wearing those shoes, we need to start. And that's the part that makes the Jah and Kev show set out. Not better or worse. It's just that we always bring application. We've got to do something. We can't just sit on broadcast and talk about stuff and not challenge people to take part in what we're talking about. And that's all we're saying tonight is we hope that someone says, hey, watching you guys broadcast, I started doing certain things. That's all I'm talking about.
Right.
Because that's where it starts.
Inspiration, motivation to go do something, even start something. And I don't know if you remember this, probably about a year or so ago. We were talking about something similar.
A year ago?
Yeah, man.
Wow, we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Our anniversary coming up. We got to take up our offer.
We already had our anniversary, man. Our anniversary came and went, man.
Well, we didn't get any money, so we didn't.
Yeah, no one put a what's that? Cash app.
Yeah.
Put our cash app.
We're
on
going
that.
to start doing it. Go ahead.
Yeah, you said something about like we would probably start something or think about starting something to go around cutting people grass, the elderly. Or something like that. That would have been. I mean, we're busy. I mean, we are busy, but that's something that anyone could think of doing. If you say, man, I could think of doing something. Getting some young men together and knock on the door and say, hey, we're gonna cut some grass for you. We're gonna cut the grass, or we're gonna do this. Anything. It don't have to be the grass. It could be, hey, we and I hate to talk about stuff that I do because I feel like that's not for people to know. But even if you say, hey, we're gonna buy so and so on the block some groceries, or we're gonna go, and just get them a card from the grocery store that they could get. Now I do this if I'm in line and I see an elderly person. A lot of times I tell the person I got it.
Yeah.
You ring them up and I tell them, and then give, and then send them on their way. I got it.
Yeah.
And I do this and this is like a normal thing for me. It's not like, it got to be this person or got to be that person. Or I'm trying to have my phone out when I'm doing it, or even telling. Only reason I disclose this type of stuff like that. Some people that know me, they know because they may be talking to me on the phone, and they may overhear. And but doing things like this, and it doesn't necessarily have to be elderly. It could be somebody that's just that can't take care of themselves.
No, I mean, I said this about you last night, and they say what you say to people behind their back, you say it to their faces.
Oh,
so I'm gonna tell you to your face. I said the reason that you do what you do is because you have a good heart. You really do. And this is something ever since I met you, and it doesn't matter, like you said, age, race, whatever, ethnicity. You have a good heart, and you don't find people like that because a lot of us are stingy. You see, we're selfish, and we have not mastered the inner self yet to strip that crap away and start saying, hey, I'm going to do the best I can. My neighbor, she's in a rehabilitation center, but and I'm going to be honest with you, she is as mean as a rattlesnake. She is as mean as a rattlesnake, Kev. She says things to me when she was living there. She would just go off. She would come over and knock on the door and just she would talk to me just bad, not vulgarity, but she was just older. But I still cut her grass. And people to this day on the block that we live on, they'll say, and I go, why not? Well, because she's mean, and I said, what got to do with cutting her grass? She can't hardly see. And I'm going to cut her grass until I die or until I can't cut it anymore. And if I can't, I'm going to get someone else in the neighborhood association to help keep her yard up until whatever happens to her facilities happens. But this is what I'm talking about, hearts. And we're not boasting because we have our own issues. We both do. When you pull the covers back, we both have our issues. But the bottom line is our hearts, man. It all starts in the heart, man. And if the heart isn't right, we can speak, we can preach, we can teach till the cows come home. If a person's heart isn't willing to be molded and shaped and made into something that it should be, this is a mute discussion. It's dead.
I guess you answered the question about the relationship that you may have with that person. That person may say crazy things or
it ain't about
curse,
that.
and it ain't about that, because
heart,
maybe
man.
You don't know her journey,
right?
You don't know her frame of mind, really, and maybe she may not even mean a word that she's saying or understand, but it doesn't matter.
That's my responsibility, right? And that's how I look at it.
And
that's
if it's nothing to you, then why is it something to somebody else?
Right?
Oh, this person said this, or this person was that get off my grass type person. You know what?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to make it a better place, and even you could treat somebody good that you don't know.
And I like to challenge all of us that's into our culture as far as our history. I want to challenge us out of all people. Now, again, the number is 361-405-6111. Don't be afraid to call. We're just having a discussion because we should have this discussion. But a lot of us care when we talk about what we do and what we don't do. You think about how we talk about the ancients of old and how we always want to go back, and bring something out of the past and bring it here. And that's fine. When are we going to go to the past and bring out of the past how we took care of our people, our older people, our elderly? When are we going to see that we didn't throw them away like they were useless? And we're not saying every single person did it, but by and large, the elderly, they weren't kicked. And see, the reason why you answered earlier, and I think I just forgot to say it, but I'll say this, and I promise I'll give it back to you. You said, as family members, if you and I are brothers, why would we allow our mother to go to a place like that when we know we just have to sacrifice? But because you're selfish and I'm selfish, or you busy and I'm busy, and we can't get along, and you this and I'm that, and in the meanwhile, she's in the rehabilitation center and she dies, or she leaves this world like that. And then when it's all over with, we go to the funeral and we slinging snot, and we turning cartwheels and we crying, but yet she died possibly of a broken heart because she wanted to be with her sons.
Right.
She wanted to see us before she left this earth.
None of them want to go to that place and die. No, none of them want to do that. And then the way that some of them people are treating them in those facilities. And like I say, my dad is in one of those facilities, but it's not. I don't have a say so in what happens with him.
I hear you.
He remarried, and that's basically they're in control of that. But the thing is, I always said that's not a way for a lion to die. That's not my dad was a lion, and a lot of people don't like the lions. There's a lot of animals in the jungle don't like the lion because they roar and they and they do what they do, but they respect them.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
I
sir.
have that respect for my dad. That it's a sad situation to see even someone that I never thought would be in that predicament.
Right.
In that predicament. So I mean, what are some of the things? How can we prepare? Because I'm going to get old one day, and I could tell my kids, "Oh, y'all should take." I could say that, but they may, But sometimes it's the burden shouldn't just be on everybody else to bury me and everybody else to look after me, because I may not just die suddenly. I may linger around for a long time, and that's going to take care.
It's going to take preparing your mind, because we know that life is life, and we get older, and if nothing happens to us, then we may end up in these facilities that we're talking about. But if our mind is still straight and we don't have dementia and all of that, then we need to prepare our minds to say that, hey, this is going to be a situation where I'm going to have to learn from a mental perspective that, hey, it's okay. I can't sit in a place and wonder and be sad because no one is coming. That's going to make me leave here faster than I probably would. So I think a lot of it is a mental challenge where as we get older, we should start thinking that this probably is going to be my plight, but it's not terrible. It's just that we got to make sure that we don't go there with that attitude that the world has caved in on us, because that makes it worse. So the only thing we can do, because we're not going to get those who we think is going to visit us, is try to prepare our minds to do the best that we can. Because I don't have a magic bullet that I can shoot and win it. But if it's mentally, I'm okay. And I've already started doing that mentally.
I mean, how about financially, like to help? Okay, like put money away or make sure that our healthcare is intact. Because see, and when I gave the statistics about who's ending up in those healthcare facilities, and I said like white women was the leading demographics. Of course, women live longer than men. So what happened? They get older. They live at an older age, and to a point that people can't really feel like they could take care of them. But see, the white people have most of the wealth. So that's their culture of just saying, you know what, instead of taking all that wealth that you have and then saying, you know what, we put in a house. And I do go to people's houses, and they have a house on their property for their mom.
I hear you.
Or they have, or if they moving them in their house, they can afford to do that. A lot of, when I said the Hispanics are on the lower end of that, and they don't do it nearly as much as, I think they were at 5%. We was at 14%. but also maybe some of their elders don't have the health care, the
Right,
Medicaid to
right.
be able to get in those facilities.
Mhm.
So they have to keep them home and take care of
I
them.
understand.
And I think the convenience of saying, well, they got Medicaid, they could put them in this facility.
Mhm.
I think those things that's convenient for us makes us lazy as
Mm.
far as the enslaved elders ancestor that we
Mhm,
had.
mhm.
They didn't have that problem.
Mhm.
They didn't have a healthcare facility or
Right,
nursing
right,
home. A
right,
lot of our people in those days, they didn't have those type of nursing facilities. They
right.
took care of their elders.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
in the motherland, they took care of
Yeah.
their. And I had a lady that was a customer. She was from China. She was telling me how the government supplements them to take care. She one of the things that she pointed about America, she said the way they treat their old people. She
Mm,
said they
mm.
send them out, send them away. She say in China we take care of our
Right,
our, uh,
right,
our parents and our grand. She said even if we just got to have an extra house
right. I understand.
right next to us or right
Yeah,
to take care of them.
yeah. See, Kevin, a lot of times, even in families fall apart when a parent gets old and the parent says, and this is what's going to make a brass monkey cry. When a parent's getting older and they know they can't live in this home by themselves, and they have 5 children, and they call each of those children and say to them, you guys decide, I want to move with one of you because I'm getting old. And when the decision comes back unanimously that every one of those children that are older now rejected their parents, they didn't want the parent to live with them. See, this is reality now because a lot of us don't want our parents with us. We have the facilities. We just don't want them to live with us. And so the parent is forced to go to these places because these 5 children or grown adults, not a one of them had enough gumption to say, my mama or my daddy will not live the rest of their lives in this rehabilitation facility. I'm going to take them in. So these 5 children are all going at each other's throat because none of them want that parent, man. And we act
They're gonna
like,
give reasons why they can't. Well,
yeah,
she can't stay with me because of this.
and then now we're gonna fall. And I'm gonna call you, and if we're the siblings, and I'm well, she can stay with you. You don't have any kids. And so it's always something, and we don't want to be honest, man. And this is what the problem is, and this is why I get so passionate because we've lost what is called compassion, man. We've lost sympathy. And I'm
It's not in our
speaking this.
culture. It's not in our culture.
It's not. And so we live in a fantasy world.
And some of what we're talking about is a result of a problem that we have with our culture. A lot of the things that we've been talking about for the last couple of shows,
Oh man,
the black love and all that
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Of course, it's going to filter off into how we treat our family members, how we treat our spouses, how we treat each other, because it's not in our culture. We have to have a better culture,
Mhm.
instill morals and ethics
Yes,
and
sir.
values in
Yes,
our
sir.
culture, and values with each other. So what we're doing, even when people say, well, the young people, they do this, they do that. You know, the thing is, a lot of them don't respect themselves. So how
Right.
are you expecting them to respect somebody else?
Mhm.
Respect is not within them.
Mhm.
You know, they'll go out and kill each other over arguments or do all of these things, or they want to fight, or we want to see people fight. We want to videotape all this.
Yeah.
That's not having love for one another,
Yeah.
compassion for one another.
Mhm.
That's individualism.
Yep.
And that's what our people is not about. That not historically we haven't been about
Exactly.
that. So now we're asking them to show respect when they don't even have it within them to respect each other and to respect themselves. So that has to be a coach. That's a culture issue.
Yeah. The one word that I think about that I can say that some people have it, but by and large, we don't. Back in the day, and even now, some of us have it. But when we talk about the elderly, the one word that keeps ringing, ringing, ringing in my ear is sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice. We all are going to have to sacrifice. Everything can't be the way I want it. Everything can't go my way. Everything can't go down my street. I can't always have my way like I'm a spoiled brat. And that's the problem with people wanting to move in with their children when they get older, because the children have a lifestyle that they're used to. They don't want to be interrupted. And the people that's out in this land that's looking at this broadcast, they know that we're telling the truth. Because a lot of us don't have time. We have time for everything else but that which is important. And most cultures, as you said, they talk about the importance of the elders. They talk about how they respect the elders. They talk about how they open the door for the elders. They talk about how they turn cartwheels for the elders. They'll do anything. They'll die for the elders. But our culture, based upon our Eurocentric indoctrination, and we're not really pro-Afrocentric, many of us, the way we think we are, because if we really were, this discussion wouldn't be had the way it's had.
Right. I mean, all the things that we have in our spiritual realm, as far like I said, with Islam and with Christianity and with Afrocentric values and spiritualism and the
Mhm.
Mayas and all these things like that. All of them cover respecting elders. So why is it that we got a problem where we would have it? And what I'm saying, respecting
I
your
understand.
elders, I'm not just talking about talking negative to them or
The
talking bad.
whole
It's disrespectful
Yeah.
to put them to the side.
Yeah.
It's just like if I'm sitting there and someone's trying to talk to you and you just like shun them and put them to the side. That's disrespectful. You know how you treat them as a person.
Yes,
If
sir.
they're invisible to you, or you only have time for them when you gotta like, oh man, I gotta make time. I gotta go do this. But somebody coming in concert, 3 months, I'm going. This ball game, I gotta be in front of it.
Yeah.
All this stuff like that. But to hear somebody else is withering away, lonely, and that's a crime to me.
We basically have done something that happens in school when a person is naughty or bad. They say you are expelled. They kick you out of school. We have kicked them out of our world. And this is one of the saddest things I've ever said, but it's true. We have kicked them out. And the problem is they haven't done anything to us. We just kick them out because we don't want to be bothered. We don't have time. And that's just not all of us, because I'm sure there are people out there that's listening to this that says they're not talking to me. Then we applaud you. But there are a lot of people that's out there that we're talking to that knows they're not going to lift a finger to help the elderly.
Those people that say, well, they're not talking about me. I'm gonna say this: if you're not doing anything other than for your own parent, if your parent has passed away, and you're not doing, you thinking, well, that absolves me from any of that. There's still elderly people in our community. We're not just about the individual household, like you said, about being selfish, because that's being selfish. If I'm only worried about my mom, then then that's my mom gonna be like, good, right. But it's other people in my community, and it irks me, or it hurts me too when I see them needing somebody to be there. And instead of me just complaining about it, how about me going to do something about it? Hey, I don't even have to know your son or your daughter or whoever your kids are, your grandkids, but I could come do this. You know, I could come do that. I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna help take care of you. And I may implore somebody else, hey, y'all know this lady over there? Yeah. Or if my neighbors see me cutting the lady across the street grass, and I may talk to my man or down the street and I tell him, yeah, I cut her grass sometime. You know what? Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe he could do that. Maybe somebody else could pitch in. Maybe the lady could get her son to do that. Maybe I could pay your son. I don't need you to cut my grass. Maybe I could pay you. You knock on my door to cut my grass. How about you cut her grass and I give you some money for it?
Exactly. We're going to have to take a journey inside. When I say take a journey inside, let me be specific because I don't want to lose anybody. We must take a journey inside the self, Kev. Every one of us have to go inside our own fibers of the soul, the very being, and we have to challenge ourselves. That's what it's going to take. And until we're willing to do that, and then not just challenge ourselves, because I'm sick of people saying, look at the man in the mirror. Don't look at the man in the mirror anymore. Do something about it. See, because we've often heard that. Well, we just look in the mirror. No, don't keep looking. Now that you see what you see, now that you see what you see, and I see what I see. Now let's do something about what we see. But we fronting, we gloating, we got all this drip and all this stuff, but we have to do something, because that's all we're telling people is, okay, just everybody got to look in the mirror at themselves. And I always like to take that a little further. No, don't just look in the mirror. Do something about what you see in the mirror.
Right.
And that's why people don't like shows that challenge them, because they want shows that's going to talk about. I was saying this to someone else the other day. They like these esoteric shows where they're talking about the Milky Way, the galaxy, the solar system, and all these principles that are so far-fetched, and all of these things that sounds good to them. But the stuff that you and I are talking about is practical, it's pragmatic. We can get off our lazy and do something about this situation.
Right.
And we don't want to do it.
I appreciate the Dave for showing up, and Harold for showing up. Harold has some comments. He said discipline has been lacking. He said, I cut the grass of my elderly lady. My neighbor, she has nephews that come over but never cut the grass. And I'm like, yeah, that's a sad thing. But and I appreciate you not letting that stop you, because a lot of us would be like, she got her kids to do it. Why she do it? Well, why? And see, what should be happening is those young people should be like feeling bad about somebody else having to cut their parents' grass or their aunt's grass and stuff like that. Harold said, I buy food, but I don't video it, and I appreciate that. He said, pay it forward. William said, talk about it. I appreciate you showing up, William Collier. Nikita said they do not treat them well. And she said, prayers for you, your dad, Kev. I appreciate that. And Harold said, our elders should pass at home. I appreciate that. And that's how it should be. See, some people can't take. I mean, they got problems putting their pets down, or That's a whole different thing. But, he said, Harold said, prepare your mind and preparing our mind. And that's what I would see. Now, you brought into that. Now, my thing is, what about preparing? Like, hey, I may one day have to stay with my kids. How about if I have money put away so I don't be such a burden? How about if I have my medical situation put away that I could have a nurse to come to the house to instead of putting that burden. It's just like I said with burial.
Okay.
A lot of us die without any kind of burial insurance, anything like that. We have life insurance, but that doesn't help us get buried at the time, So it's just the same thing. It's just responsibility because I don't want to be a burden on my kids. I want to be I don't want to be that heavy of a burden on my kids. So I want to be able to say, they may say, well, you know what, Dad, you need somebody here with you, and I'm like, well, you know what, I'm gonna have somebody here. I got a nurse coming here. I may not even want to be a burden on them, or they may say, you know what, somebody has to move in here or take over. And I may understand that, but then why is the burden on them just to take care of me when I could set things in order for somebody to help alleviate
it
that.
helps a little bit. That's all you're saying, and I get that. But I'm always using illustrations, and I'm always talking in figurative expressions. So those who watch the broadcast, you'll hear me go off the deep end, but I try to come back. But again, Kev, we basically don't have a connection, man. We don't have that connection. It's like a socket. You have to plug something in it to make it work. We're unplugged. And instead of plugging into it, knowing that we, like the brothers are saying, and I appreciate the brothers saying what he's doing, that's that right there just really makes me feel good to know that people are doing what they can do, whatever it is. He's doing what he has to do. I'm talking to the ones that aren't. I'm trying to encourage all of us to be like this brother and to take what he says and says, hey, I'm going to do better. See, plug this thing into the socket, do something, and don't just talk about it because we're watching, I'm watching a Jah and Kev show, and we feel it's like the families at a funeral. We always cry and say, we're going to stay together. We're going to do better because mama gone and we're going to really do well. And within a month's time, we're back at the same old crap we did before mama left this earth. So in other words, I'm saying, don't feel sad because we're talking now and you're convicted and yet you want to do something. And then next week, you haven't given it much thought.
Right.
Yeah. Plan it, write it down.
Man, I knew a couple of brothers that had their own lawn care service, and I wish I would have thought about that. I'm like, well, I don't need nobody to cut my grass, but I probably know people that need their grass cut, and I can, and we can pull together. People can pull together, get a list of people, and say, hey, this is a person, and we can. It could go twofold. You helping this brother with his business because they may contact me and say, I used to post, I say, this brother got a lawn care service. Y'all need y'all lawn care, call him. I'm trying to help him with his business.
Yes, sir.
And I could have helped him with his business by saying, hey, I may not need it, but I know somebody else. And it may not have to fall all on my shoulders. And I may even could go to my neighbors and say, hey, man, let's pay somebody to cut this person's grass.
Wow.
Are you in it with me or whatever? If not, then I'm going to take more of the burden on. And if you know people, you can say, hey, man, I know somebody that need it. And I might say, you know what, the heck with that. I could do it. I could come over there on this day. How about you do it this week and I do it the next week or whatever.
Wow.
That's all. Do something.
Oh, yeah.
Which is inspiration. We want to inspire people, and not just inspiration. Inspiration is feeling, emotions.
Right.
Motivation is movement.
Right.
We want you to be inspired to move.
There you go.
To take action and say, you know what? Hey, even if it's women that say, say, I know somebody. Say, I was talking about somebody that need their grass cut. Hey, I know this person.
Yeah,
and,
cook go the women that are older, they're by themselves. Go over, just cook for them something and take the food over to them. Go sit.
That's
with
how
them.
it used to be, like that proverbial village. Everybody used to say existed. You see it, that's old fashioned. But you got to get to know your neighbors. You got to take. See, even like their kids may not be from that neighborhood. Now when she talks to them, they like, Mom, who was that at the door? Oh, that was my neighbor's son down the street. Who down the street?
Right.
Or they just come. She just come to drop off some food for me. She come to drop this off. This guy just came to drop some groceries off. And let's see, now they're gonna be feeling better about when they see people that they don't even know.
Yeah, Kev, that's awesome. I'm gonna what they call digress for a second, then we'll come back to this because I want to mention something to the audience. This announcement is for you. September the 15th at the Joe Long Theater, located 226 North Hackberry Street. Notice I'm slowing down my language because I'm normally motor mouth, but I'm slowing it down now so you can hear what I'm saying. There's a play that's going to be held. It's called Shadows of Doubt, Whispers of Innocence. Brother Kevin and Brother Jahi are in the play. It's a play about a family. It's about a gentleman, but it basically talks about what a family will do to help someone whom they love. And this person is in a dire situation when it comes to capital punishment. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, please get your ticket at the Joe Long box office. The seats for the balcony are $27. The seats on the floor are $37. And the proceeds, some of it is going to go to Liberation Academy. But the actual play is a play that's going to make the hair on your neck stand up. We're going to be acting. It's a serious production. We have almost 20 something people that's in the play, and we're excited about the play. So we really want you to support us. And then after the play, walk up to Brother Kevin or me and say, hey, I'm a viewer of the Jah and Kev show. And I'll probably start crying. Because
I won't.
He's hardcore,
Yeah,
I'm the sensitive guy. But yeah, we really want you to support us in all seriousness. And so if you need any more information, 210-317-4575. That's my number. But we definitely want you to bring your family out and enjoy. This play is for everyone. Now, it may be intense for some of the children because of a few scenes, and we don't mean nudity or vulgarity. It's just the subject matter. So again, but I think they'll be fine. But we really want you to support Shadows of Doubt, Whispers of Innocence, September the 15th at the Joe Long Theater. 5:00 p.m. Yeah, from 5 to 7.
And this brother wrote it, and when he said the Liberation Academy, Liberation Center, explain to them what that is. What's your little?
Yeah, the Liberation Academy is a school that we started, a private school, and this is our 3rd year, and it's an Afrocentric based curriculum. We do the core subjects, but it just kind of teaches these students about real life in the world in which they live in, so that when they get older, they will be into the things that you and I are talking about, like visiting the nursing home.
Like I was going to say, you brought that up earlier. You take your students. That's what he was talking about when he take his students to go see these facilities.
Yeah, and we go to all different ones. And then also the Liberation Center is a liberal arts organization where we do things in the community. We feed the homeless. We've tested for COVID. And now this is our 3rd production. This is our 3rd play we've written in the last 3 years. And each play we have success. But this year we have to do it at the Joe Long because the seating capacity is much more.
Right.
And we wish everyone would tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and all of you ladies and gentlemen that watches this broadcast, you should even come and sit together if you have to. But again, seriously, after the broadcast, after the play, if you just come up to us and just say, hey, I watch you guys' broadcast, and then that's going to really show that our work is really not in vain, because we have people who care, and the play is something that we wanted to give back to San Antonio.
This is the easy stuff. It's stuff behind the scenes. We really out there getting our hands dirty.
Yeah, because this guy here is something else. People say, do you like working with Kev? I work with him here at the Jah and Kev show, but after this,
no,
I don't even see this guy, man.
Just say no.
I don't like the guy.
We got an agreement, but no, not really.
We don't get along.
I appreciate a lot of y'all that commented. I'm gonna read your comment. Nikita said it's cheaper to have your loved one at home, honestly. And Barbara said, teach big brother. She also said, I made 2 trips to Alabama in 2020 to be with my dad, who was hospitalized. And after learning about his health and not being able to, to live alone anymore, I'm not choking up. I'm choking for real.
Okay.
He said, my first choice was to bring him here with me, but he declined. He declined and was placed in a nursing facility with his oldest sister. She said after 6 months, he no longer wanted to reside there and asked to come to Texas with me. I got him out and brought him home and found out 2 days later he had cancer for the 2nd time. And less than 2 months later, my daddy transitioned here at my home. The best thing I could have ever done. She said, I miss him dearly, and I appreciate those comments.
Yeah.
And that's going back to where Harold said they should die at home with us. A lot. And I'm gonna say this, even though it seems like it has nothing to do with it. I saw a story from a veterinarian, and when I was talking about how people don't like to put their animals to sleep. And the veterinarian said the saddest thing you could do is drop that dog off and refuse to go back in the room with him, because she said that dog, you are everything to that dog. And she said when that dog is looking for them, that dog senses something is wrong. He's looking for the owner, and people like, I don't have the heart for that. Imagine a person, to be around their loved ones when they pass, instead of someone calling you and saying, hey, this person is in a dire situation and they are unconscious now. And you wasn't there to see their last visions or anything.
Wow.
They should die with you, with their family and loved ones around them.
Yeah.
If the opportunity is presented, because a lot of times that is not presented. Somebody may have a sudden heart attack or something like that, and that's understandable. But if they are in a, they should be around family and loved ones. And
what a way to go, Kev. This is a perfect ending. When we close our eyes, our family members should be the last people that we see, because that's the way that it should be. There's no other way about it. There's nothing that we can say that's going to sugarcoat it. When we close our eyes, especially when we know that it's imminent and all we have to do is go somewhere, because some of us live in the same city and we won't go visit them and they're not even dying.
Right.
But if they're leaving this earth and you get the call that someone is transitioning and they say, come on, please come now. And you tell someone that you have to go do something and you don't address that, you are as rotten as an apple and you're dirtier than 4 nasty dogs.
Wow. Jah and Kev show. Yeah, but you never know when it's somebody's time, and it should be in our culture to treat each other good and well. And we appreciate everyone that showed up and all the commentary on the show. And we'll be back probably couple of weeks from now, I'm guessing. We used to do it on Saturday, but we got the rehearsals on the weekend.
He's a big shot. He's rehearsing now. He doesn't want to do it with Saturday. I wanted to do it on Saturdays, but he doesn't. I'm just telling y'all now.
I'm like, I could juggle both because this acting stuff is not there. But we appreciate everyone, and hopefully we'll have a good show for y'all. If y'all need any tickets or y'all want to come, not need it like I'm gonna give it to you. If y'all need to purchase any tickets, y'all want to contact me, y'all can contact me on my Facebook page, Kevin Lewis. Let me know y'all want tickets. If I get them, I get them and get them to you.
Okay.
And we looking to fill this place out. How many is seat? How many people is seat?
About 650.
About 600. So,
yes, sir.
So we trying to get this filled out, because this is something like, it's about a Black family going through a crisis. And how they have to bond together, how they have their differences, and it's the struggle to try to save a family member.
Yeah, and we got to do a broadcast about that too.
Yeah, we got to do that, man. Yeah. We'll do that hopefully coming up soon.
Okay. On behalf of Kevin, myself, we out.
Peace.